we don't have money because there's an unemployed person in this house. My mother-in-law, glaring at me, spat out. My husband and father-in-law scolded my mother-in-law, but her anger only intensified. We're broke because we have a freeloader. Do you even realize being a stay-at-home wife is just being unemployed? She continued to berate me. More than feeling sad or angry, I was just fed up with my mother-in-law. It had been a year since I started living with my husband's family. And my mother-in-law had called me unemployed numerous times. She was displeased with me being a stay-at-home wife. However, today, something outside seemed to have upset her even more. And she lashed out at me persistently. Then, my mother-in-law shockingly said, "Someone like you is not suitable for my precious Kevin. The unemployed should just leave." My husband and father-in-law, not expecting her to go as far as to tell me to leave, were shocked. At the same time, they tried to yell at my mother-in-law, but I cheerfully responded. With pleasure. As if I was a cheerful bar employee, I said this with a smile, leaving my mother-in-law dumbfounded. My husband and father-in-law were also shocked. I immediately began preparing to leave the house. And I prepared a divorce paper and had my husband sign it. "Mother, I will submit this divorce paper to the city hall. Farewell." As I left my husband's family home, I could hear my mother-in-law's loud laughter from inside. Imagining what was to come, laughter welled up within me. "You're wrong if you think things will go your way." With that, I started walking. My name is Amber. I am 30 years old. Ever since I was young, I loved movies and dramas, and after graduating from high school, I entered a vocational school for film. There, I learned video editing skills and was able to join an advertising agency after graduation. The job was hard at times, but I enjoyed every day. Then, through work, I met Kevin, my now husband. Kevin was 2 years older than me, a man with a generous aura that was attractive. He liked cameras and was knowledgeable about video editing, so we hit it off immediately. Without either of us explicitly asking, we started dating. And our relationship evolved from good friends to lovers. Several years of smooth dating passed until one day. Kevin, with a seriousness I had never seen before, said to me, "Amber, I've decided to go back to my hometown and become an independent photographer." "Really? You've decided to go independent?" I had heard from Kevin before that he eventually wanted to return to his hometown and become independent. "Yes. And I want you to come with me. In other words, I want you to marry me." From his serious gaze, Kevin's eyes wavered slightly with anxiety. "Of course. Please take care of me," I answered with the biggest smile. Since Kevin's hometown was a train ride away, I would have to quit my current job. Although I felt a bit sad about it, my desire to support Kevin's independence was stronger. Above all, being with Kevin was my greatest happiness. Thus, Kevin and I got married, and I became a stay-at-home wife. Kevin worked hard every day as an independent photographer, while living in an apartment near Kevin's parents' home. And saving money to eventually build our own house, we led a modest yet peaceful and happy life. However, it wasn't long before my mother-in-law suggested we live together. "Hey, Amber and Kevin. You're working hard to save money to build your dream home, aren't you? Then, why don't you live with us? You won't have to pay rent here. There's no need for you two to live in an apartment by yourselves. Come stay with us." My mother-in-law, with a smile, told us. I appreciated the offer because we had a reasonably good relationship with my in-laws. However, the idea of moving in together immediately raised some concerns for me. I had heard from a friend about their failed experience living with in-laws, leading to a divorce soon after the marriage began due to conflicts. Because of this, I couldn't feel positive about my mother-in-law's proposal. Mom's proposal is, well, appreciated. But we're still newlyweds, and moving in together so soon doesn't feel right. Besides, both Mom and Dad are still healthy, so there's no need for us to take care of them. There's no reason for us to live together. It seemed like Kevin understood my feelings and gently declined. However, my mother-in-law didn't give up and continued to bring up the topic of living together. Living together would make every day so much fun. I dream about it every night, dreaming of the four of us happily gathered around the dining table. When will that become a reality? Come on, let's start living together soon. Please make my dream come true. Being asked like this every time made me feel guilty for constantly refusing. And eventually, we agreed to move in. My mother-in-law's eyes sparkled with joy, and she was very pleased. Really? I'm so happy. Amber, let's get along well. We'll share the household chores and help each other out. Likewise, please take care of me. Seeing my mother-in-law so happy made me feel that deciding to move in was the right choice. Since the decision, my mother-in-law, unable to hide her excitement about us living together, would often call. Your room will be on the second floor, in the corner. It gets great sunlight and is just perfect. I've cleaned it thoroughly for you. Wow, thank you so much. My mother-in-law was very kind to me during the preparation period, which gradually eased my concerns. However, one thing that bothered me was her overprotectiveness of Kevin. It's natural for a mother to love her son, but sometimes it felt a bit too much. What's for dinner tonight, Amber? Kevin works hard every day, so make sure he eats something nourishing. But don't just feed him meat, balance is important. Take good care of Kevin. So, what's the menu for dinner? Tell me quickly. Being bombarded with such questions made me feel a slight discomfort. Moreover, my mother-in-law began to express more frequently her desire to live with Kevin, saying, "Oh, I can't wait to live with Kevin." It seemed she might want to live with Kevin more than with everyone else. However, I told myself it was natural for a mother to want to be close to her son, and tried not to worry too much about it. Since there were no other major issues with my mother-in-law, I focused on preparing for our move. And as planned, we began living with my husband's family. At first, sharing chores with my mother-in-law and living peacefully seemed manageable. But it wasn't long before her true colors showed. This happened when Kevin and my father-in-law were at work, leaving just my mother-in-law and me at home. Amber, how long are you going to hang the laundry? You're so slow. Can't you move any faster? Once you're done with that, hurry up and finish the dishes. In fact, I'm leaving all the housework to you today. You're unemployed, so you must have plenty of time, right? What a life for the unemployed. Make sure you do the cleaning properly. Got it. She spoke to me in a tone I had never heard before. Are you going out somewhere, mother? I was surprised, but tried to remain calm and asked her. Yes. Unlike you, I'm busy. I'm a career woman, you know. I live my life being busy with various things every day. She boasted proudly. Indeed, I had heard that my mother-in-law was a career woman, working at a major trading company and being very active in her job. However, that was until 2 years ago. My mother-in-law is now 62 years old and retired 2 years ago, making her a housewife now. Despite this, she belittles me for being unemployed, which makes me wonder what she intends by it. I was baffled and fell silent. Then, my mother-in-law, seemingly irritated, told me. What are you spacing out for? Come on, get moving. Finish hanging the laundry quickly. Yes. Overwhelmed by my mother-in-law's presence, I started doing the chores as told. She constantly criticized my way of doing housework, making me redo the cleaning multiple times. Absolutely not. You can't say you've cleaned with that method. Here, try doing it again. After thoroughly tormenting me, she seemed satisfied and left the house with a high-end bag in hand. Left alone in the house, I was stunned. My mother-in-law began to frequently dump the housework and cleaning tasks on me. She would dress up in expensive clothes and bags, going out with high spirits. And it wasn't rare for her to return with numerous shopping bags. In front of Kevin and my father-in-law, my mother-in-law played the role of a good wife and mother. I considered telling Kevin and my father-in-law about mother-in-law's behavior towards me. However, I couldn't bring myself to do it, as it would upset the kind-hearted Kevin and my father-in-law. Eventually, my mother-in-law began to blatantly assign me the housework even in front of Kevin and father-in-law. Kevin would often rebuke my mother-in-law. "Mom, why do you always make Amber do the housework? We agreed to share the chores, didn't we? Don't be so mad, Kevin. It's because Amber isn't working. It's only natural for her to do all the housework, cooking, and cleaning." When my mother-in-law said that without any remorse, my father-in-law then scolded her. "You're not working right now either, are you? What are you even saying?" His point was valid. When confronted, my mother-in-law would grimace and fall silent. Since my father-in-law is 3 years younger than my mother-in-law, he is currently 59 years old. Therefore, although he is nearing retirement, he is still actively working. He works at a publishing house and is very kind, treating me very well. My mother-in-law started to frequently boast about her time working at a general trading company when just the two of us were together. She probably didn't mention it in front of my father-in-law and Kevin because she didn't want to be told, "You're not working now, are you?" From her tone, it was clear she took great pride in her work at the trading company. And she seemed to enjoy putting me down by flaunting her career achievements. "You know, I graduated from a prestigious private university and joined a general trading company. I was a star from my first year. I was always the ace. Always praised by my seniors. I can't count how many times I've been awarded internally. That's impressive." When I praised her, my mother-in-law became even more smug and looked down on me. "Right? And compared to that, are you okay with your life being so dull and boring? Well, it doesn't look like you have the ability to shine in society. Unemployment suits you. You're nothing like me." I was becoming increasingly annoyed by my mother-in-law's condescending attitude. But knowing that Kevin and father-in-law were on my side was a relief. I made sure to finish the chores promptly before my mother-in-law could say anything, and started to spend more time in my room, reducing the time spent with her as much as possible. I managed to brush off my mother-in-law's boasting about her time at the trading company. Gradually, I became mentally stronger. And when it seemed like her boasting was going to drag on, I found excuses to retreat to my room. My mother-in-law seemed desperate to share her stories with me, but lately, since I often retreated to my room, she appeared dissatisfied. However, I pretended not to notice and continued with my days. As we approached the 1-year mark of living together, during dinner with the 4 of us, my mother-in-law suddenly started sulking and said, "Today, I got shown off to by Mrs. Thompson." "Mrs. Thompson? That's a friend of yours, Mom?" As Kevin inquired, my mother-in-law nodded and began to speak bluntly. "Yes, a neighbor of ours. They recently went on a family trip to the resort. It seems they stayed in a luxurious inn with a splendid open-air bath in their room. The food was also exceptional, featuring very tender meat that melted in your mouth. It sounds like it was a blissful trip." That's nice." Upon hearing this, My mother-in-law contorted her face in frustration and snapped at him. Not nice at all. Were you even listening to me? I was bragged to. It's as if they were saying, your family couldn't afford to stay in such a luxurious inn, could you? I felt so miserable and humiliated. Why should I have to feel this way? That sounds a bit like a persecution complex. Mom, please, calm down for a moment. Kevin tried to admonish my mother-in-law, but she showed no signs of stopping. It's not a persecution complex. How can you not understand how I felt at that moment? It's the first time I've felt so miserable. I'm so frustrated. Then, suddenly, she turned her frustration towards me. We don't have money because there's an unemployed person in this house. My mother-in-law, glaring at me, spat out. Mom, what are you talking about? Kevin quickly attempted to stop my mother-in-law, but her anger only escalated. Because we have a freeloader, we're broke. Hey, you've been silent all this time, but you realize we're talking about you, right? Have you got nothing to say for yourself? Are you even aware that being a stay-at-home wife is just being unemployed? I was honestly fed up with being blamed. It infuriated me that my mother-in-law, who was also unemployed, was treating me this way. Unable to hold back any longer, I retorted. You're unemployed right now as well, aren't you, mother? What? Seemingly shocked to be talked back to, her eyes widened. And her face turned red as she yelled at me. Someone like you is not suitable for my precious Kevin. The unemployed should just leave. Kevin and my father-in-law scolded her, but I announced loudly, overtaking their voices. Yes, gladly. With a bright smile, like a bar employee, I said this, leaving my mother-in-law dumbfounded. Kevin and my father-in-law were also shocked. I immediately started to clear my own dishes, finished washing up, and began preparing to leave the house. Seeing me do this, my mother-in-law mockingly said, "Looks like you're really leaving." What a relief. Divorcing such a daughter-in-law is the right choice, Kevin. Mom, stop it already. Kevin was furious and scolded her. My father-in-law also said, apologize to Amber right away. But my mother-in-law just sulked and never apologized to me. Without talking to anyone, I packed my belongings into a carry case. Kevin looked at me worriedly. Despite the atmosphere, my mother-in-law, oblivious, said, "Hey. You're only washing your dishes. Take ours down and do the washing up too." I ignored her, of course, while Kevin and my father-in-law's voices scolding her filled the house. The next morning, after packing my bags, I told Kevin something in our room. Then, Kevin and I signed the divorce papers I had printed out on the computer. Mother, I will submit this divorce paper to the city hall. Farewell. With that, I left my husband's family home. I could hear mother-in-law's loud laughter from inside, unaware of what was coming her way. A smile crept up on me. You're wrong if you think things will go your way. Then, as promised, I submitted the divorce papers to the city hall. And the divorce between Kevin and me was finalized. Half a year later, my phone rang with a call from my mother-in-law. Hello? As soon as I answered, my mother-in-law started ranting over my voice. Finally connected. I've been trying to call you so many times, but all I got was a beep sound. And it wouldn't connect. What was that all about? I had set your number to be blocked. After all, we are strangers now. I had blocked my mother-in-law's number ever since I left the in-laws' house. And I had just unblocked it moments ago. I was a bit surprised to receive a call from her right away. Blocked? Don't joke with me. More importantly, where have you taken my precious Kevin? Kevin has disappeared. Did you do something to him? Even though you're divorced, You still have feelings for Kevin, don't you? My mother-in-law was fuming with anger. It had been a while since I heard her voice, but she seemed as lively as ever. Could you please lower your voice a bit? My ears hurt. Shut up. Where are you right now? Despite my attempt to calm her down, my mother-in-law continued to shout excitedly. In contrast, I calmly stated, I have built a single-family home and just finished moving in. What? Her momentum halted suddenly, and she quieted down, but then, realizing what I said, started ranting again. How can an unemployed person afford that? Where did you get the money for a single-family home? Sure, you talked about saving up for a home. But an unemployed single like you building a house is impossible. I make $160,000 a year. Upon hearing this fact, I could tell my mother-in-law was taken aback, even through the phone. You always ridiculed me for being unemployed, but in fact, I'm a YouTuber. A YouTuber? Amber, you? And you're earning that much? My mother-in-law asked in disbelief. Yes, that's right. I make videos, mainly introducing beauty products and trendy items. My editing skills have been praised, and thanks to that, my annual income has reached $160,000. Indeed, after leaving my job and marrying Kevin, I began making videos using my editing skills. It was quite successful from the start, but I never imagined it would earn this much. What, really? You were always cooped up in your room because you were making videos? Yes, that's, well, true. It was partly for creating videos, indeed. While the main reason I started spending more time in my room after finishing the chores was to escape from my mother-in-law's boastful stories. It's also true that I wanted to carve out as much time as possible for creating videos. What's with that? You're so secretive. If you were making so much money, you should have told me earlier. I feel terrible now. I thought you were just an unemployed person without any income. If I knew you were earning that much, it would have been a different story. How mean of you, Amber, to keep such important things a secret. Upon learning of my income, my mother-in-law suddenly changed her tune, speaking in a coaxing voice as if she had flipped a switch. Hey, now that you're so rich, why don't you gift me a trip? Of course, it has to be to a luxury inn. One even more expensive than the resort Mrs. Thompson went to. Now I can finally show her up. Mrs. Thompson must be the name of my mother-in-law's friend. She was still holding a grudge about being bragged to on the day she told me to leave their house. Sighing, I responded. Why don't you use the money you earned at the general trading company? Go on a trip with your own money. What? What's with that attitude? Amber, you earn so much yet you're so stingy. You're so greedy. Just book the luxury inn already. It's ironic how my mother-in-law, who had been so harsh to me, could so brazenly ask for such things. No matter what you say, I have no intention of giving you any money. And about Kevin, I'm currently living with him. What? You two are divorced, aren't you? Her voice was filled with astonishment. Yes, we did get divorced, but we remarried. Kevin has come to live with me as my husband again. We had made such an arrangement from the beginning. Remarried. In fact, on the day I left the in-laws' house, Kevin and I had decided to get divorced once and remarry, with Kevin joining my family. Kevin had been reassured knowing I had no intention of leaving him. I'll stay with my parents for a while. I've already talked to them. So Kevin, you can come to my parents' house once you're ready. Okay, I understand. I'm really sorry about my mom. Though Kevin was downcast, both he and his father had protected me from my mother-in-law, for which I was grateful. Subsequently, Kevin told his mother a lie about having to go on a long-term shoot. and took only what he needed to move to my parents' house. My mother-in-law still seemed unable to process the truth I had just revealed. I've been trying to call Kevin too, but all I got was a beep. Does that mean Kevin also blocked me? Why? She sounded utterly bewildered. Yes. Kevin has cut ties with you, mother. I had also blocked your number but unblocked it now that the move is complete. Thinking you might be looking for Kevin's whereabouts. Of course, I won't give you our address. Kevin will continue to live with me, so please stop looking for him. This can't be. After murmuring that, my mother-in-law fell silent for a few seconds. Then suddenly burst out yelling. That's all lies. You must be threatening Kevin. There's no way he would cut ties with me. Disbelieving my words, my mother-in-law was at a loss. Just then, Kevin approached and took over the phone. Mom, it's me. Kevin? Oh, thank goodness. You're not really cutting ties with me, right? Amber is threatening you, isn't she? Just tell me where you are, and I'll come to get you. Her desperate voice leaked through the phone. No, everything Amber said is true. I can't forgive how you treated her. From now on, you and I are strangers. Goodbye. After saying that, Kevin handed the phone back to me. I addressed my mother-in-law once more. Do you understand now, mother? How could this? My mother-in-law seemed to be sobbing. Then, I'll be hanging up now. Wait. Don't hang up yet. Fine, I'll accept cutting ties. But please, could you lend me some money? My mother-in-law appealed in a desperate tone. I was astounded that she was still talking about money at this point. Excuse me? As I said, I won't be booking any luxury in for you. It's not about that. Actually, my husband found out I've been shopping a lot with his credit card. And now I'm on an allowance. I can't survive on just $300 a month. It's gone in a flash. So you were the one spending extravagantly. Your husband was worried about the savings decreasing. So I told him about how you frequently returned home with bags from brand stores when we were living together. Kevin and I had kept in touch with my father-in-law, who had even helped with the moving expenses due to the trouble caused by his wife. Recently, when he shared his concerns about the dwindling savings, I recounted what I had witnessed while living with them, shedding light on my mother-in-law's spending habits. My mother-in-law, despite being unemployed, always returned home laden with shopping bags, which I found suspicious. You told my husband on me? What have you done? He got furious, put me on an allowance. And now I have to write down everything I buy in a household account book. And if I don't do it, he's threatened divorce. It's your own fault for spending recklessly. You don't have any income right now. Besides, being given an allowance of $300 should be something you're grateful for, considering your spending habits. You should thank your husband. Please reflect on your actions. As I expressed my dismay, my mother-in-law began to make excuses. But when I was working, I could buy whatever I wanted. So I just kept spending the same way after I retired. And when I go shopping with my friends in the neighborhood, I have to buy brand name items so I don't lose face. I don't understand. Why do you need to put on such a show? My mother-in-law replied as if it were the most natural thing. It's not about showing off. You see, I am an elite who worked at a general trading company. I am someone who deserves to have brand name items. I have nothing more to say to you. I'm ending this call now. Frustrated with my mother-in-law's ludicrous reasoning, I hung up. Just before the call ended, I thought I heard her voice wailing in distress. Later, I learned from my father-in-law that My mother-in-law couldn't handle the strict financial control for long. She had secretly taken his credit card from his wallet and used it to make expensive purchases without permission. When my father-in-law discovered this, he announced their divorce. My mother-in-law begged and pleaded. But my father-in-law was resolute in his decision not to change his mind about the divorce. Having no choice, my mother-in-law was forced to move out and live in a cheap apartment. Since then, my mother-in-law, who had planned a leisurely and elegant retirement, begrudgingly started working part-time to make ends meet. However, being directed by much younger supervisors was unbearable for her prideful nature, and she was under considerable stress. Since then, she has called me several times, begging for money and complaining about her part-time job. Listen to this, Amber. That younger female supervisor criticized what I thought was a good deed, telling me not to do unnecessary things. Can you believe that? How dare she speak to me, an elite, like that? Can you please stop calling me? We're strangers now. Despite my clear discomfort, my mother-in-law remained undeterred. Just a little bit is fine. Can't you lend me some money? You're making so much, so you must have a lot, right? Please. No. I've already declined several times. When I responded coldly, my mother-in-law started to sob dramatically, as if imitating a cry. That's so cruel, Amber. I hate this life. How did it come to this? I was supposed to enjoy a relaxed and leisurely retirement. My life is a mess. Oh. This is all the result of your own actions. If you can't realize that, I doubt your life will ever improve. Please don't call me again. With that, I hung up and blocked her number once more. Since then, I've had no updates on my mother-in-law, but I hope she has learned from her actions. Meanwhile, thanks to the success of my video streaming, Kevin and I started an advertising company. With the savings we've accumulated, we're living without financial worries. And now, we've discovered that a new life is growing inside me. Blessed by my father-in-law and our families, Kevin and I are eagerly awaiting the arrival of our little one.